So precisely 24 hours ago, when I joined you, I was semi-honest and said it was not that big a news day. Not that much happened. Well, today, the news gods, the lords of the news cycle, they had a much different posture. There's so much news that I'm announcing now a special 4-hour episode. No, it's not. Andrew Sullivan's podcast, the Dishcast, by the way, is 2 hours long. An hour is available free, and then if you're a paid subscriber, you get the extra hour. Man, I don't know if you like Andrew, you should get it, but that's a lot of podcasting. Good day. This is Two-Way Tonight. I'm Mark Halperin. Welcome in. Lots of news stories to get to. I'm going to tick them off in a second just so you have an idea of what we're dealing with here. And then in just a moment, Scott Jennings will be here. I had lunch with Scott several months ago, and at that point, he was a massive star with a huge book deal and dominating CNN primetime and the talk of Lexington, and now even more so. Honored that he graced us with his presence and his 800,000 plus X followers and his ownership of the libs. So Scott will be here in a moment. Of course, we'll talk about his extravagantly successful new book that's barely available and yet already extravagantly successful with the salesman in chief, the commander in chief. President Trump seems determined to drive Scott to number one. So we'll talk about that. What happened today? Well, let me take it off in short order. Number one, the House and the Senate, lickety splittity, passed the Epstein bill, sent it to the president's desk. The Senate passed it. They pre-passed it. Schumer got unanimous consent to say when the bill gets over here from the House, just it's passed. So that's a procedure not all of you were aware of, but that's what they did. So the bill's already passed. We'll talk about that. President Trump in the Oval Office with MBS was asked about the murder of a Washington Post columnist, and he dismissed Mr. Khashoggi in extraordinary terms. Said a lot of people didn't like him, and absolved MBS of any role. And attacked the reporter who asked the question. And so that's story number two. The president used extraordinary language that will reverberate through history. We'll see. We'll see if it reverberates short term. But he also attacked the ABC reporter not once but twice. And this comes on the heels of the president using harsh language to other female reporters. Now, I'm not a sexist person, so I don't like him talking to reporters regardless of gender in this way. But some people feel particularly strongly when he talks to female reporters, and he did that the other day, and he did it again today. And that's a story which we'll talk about. A federal court bitterly divided, deeply divided. The cliches write themselves. 2-1 vote by a court of appeals said that the Texas redistricting effort ain't gonna fly. As we say in Texas, that brisket ain't kosher. And now it'll probably be appealed. It will be appealed by the governor of Texas to the Supreme Court. But someone, me, told you guys for a long time these redistricting battles are not final until the courts rule in. Same with California. So no surprise to me that a court said it wasn't good. We'll see what happens there. But for now, all that effort to get 5 new seats in Texas is at best on hold. Uh, More Epstein stuff we'll talk about. Oh, Stacey Plaskett, the representative from the Virgin Islands, Democrat, who was revealed by the disclosure of the for Epstein 1 documents to have taken real-time coaching from Jeffrey Epstein for questioning during a hearing. She went on the House floor today, presumably to improve her standing on this matter, and some say she went backwards. So we'll talk about that. President Trump said he already knows who's going to pick for the chair of the Fed. Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris campaigned in that Tennessee House special election today, and we'll listen to a little bit of that. And being widely reported that the Trump administration is going forward with its plans to eliminate the Department of Education. Talk about all that and more here with our guest, Scott Jennings, in just a moment. A quick word from one of our sponsors, the great folks at Cozy Earth. Massive sale, 40% off now. Cozy Earth products, go to cozyearth.com. Promo code two-way for 40% off right now. Stack my code upon what is already a huge site-wide sale and order up your bamboo pajama set. Order up your bubble cuddle blanket. Go ahead and do it. Maybe your jogger pants, the sheets, the towels, all available for 40% off. CozyEarth.com, promo code two-way. Your family can buy stuff for yourselves. You can buy stuff for the holidays, whatever you want. Lots of stuff on there. I do recommend, as you know, the bubble cuddle blanket and the joggers in particular, but it's all great. Keep you warm in winter, cool in summer. Magic material. Black Friday coming early to all of you in the Cozy Earth community. You can get right now the opportunity to wrap the ones you love in luxury with Cozy Earth. Go to it, folks, cozyearth.com, promo code two-way. Make yourself comfortable. All right, here we go. Are we lucky enough to have Scott Jennings here? We are. Here he is. Let's see how he looks with that fancy CNN makeup. Oh my God, I barely recognize him. Scott Jennings, welcome in. Please unmute. You know how to do that, or you usually have some senior producer who does that for you. Scott Jennings, when we last talked, you were riding high, CNN giving you a fancy new deal. You had a big book deal, access to the Trump administration, the envy of any journalist. And since then, it's only just rocket ship. And you just tweeted when we called you a heavyweight on Twitter that you've lost weight. Man, you have lost weight. You're not taking that injectable, are you?
Intermittent fasting. I got to tell you, this is the second. I've done it a couple of times in my life. It really works. If you just turns out if you don't eat for long hours,
Yeah.
it
Doesn't give
works.
you a headache. Doesn't give you a headache.
Not anymore. I'm pretty
Yeah.
used to it. But
What kind of food do they have in the Abbey Phillip green room? What's in there?
food? Oh,
There's
there's
no
no
food in there?
no,
Really?
no. We have
Nine
no
at night? No M&Ms?
10 o'clock at night. That'd be outside my window anyway. I wouldn't be eating
Okay.
that.
Okay. Good point. Well, welcome and congratulations on the book. Tell everybody the name of the book, why you wrote it, and who should buy it.
It's called A Revolution of Common Sense: How Donald Trump Stormed Washington and Fought for Western Civilization. I had the idea in January when the president was giving his inaugural address. He used that phrase, it's a revolution of common sense. And I thought, he's basically summed up the branding or rebranding of the Republican Party. And that's what he's done. And I thought that'd be a good title. And then I went and pitched him in early February on the idea in the Oval Office. It was really the first time I'd ever spent any time with him. And I sat there for a couple of hours and we had a good conversation. And from there, bloomed this whole several weeks of me talking to the president, talking to Marco Rubio, talking to Scott Bessent, talking to Elon Musk, who has some eye-popping quotes in this book, and a whole bunch of others. I was in the Oval with the president. I went to Michigan on his 100th day in office. So the book really covers sort of that early piece all the way up until June. Maybe I think 4th of July was the last when he signed the big beautiful bill was kind of the last stuff I was able to get in. But my view is if you love Donald Trump, you'll think this is an interesting book. And if you have a relative who hates Donald Trump, you should buy it for them for Christmas and put it under the tree and watch them open it on Christmas morning, because the picture on the front is Trump coming out of the White House. I asked him actually, Mark, what's your favorite picture of yourself? And this was the photo that came back. So the cover you see is Donald Trump's favorite picture of his early days.
And were you in the Oval Office the other day with him in the book?
I was there yesterday, about 24 hours
Yesterday, yeah.
ago. And
Yeah.
I told him in February, I thought if we move quickly, I could deliver it by the end of the year. And I did. And I signed a copy for him and he signed a copy for me. And we chatted for about an hour. And it was a fun experience to be back in there. The Oval, by the way, yesterday, it's changed a lot since I first saw him back in February. He's
Yeah.
added a lot of things in there.
Just so you know, in Tennessee, when you spend time with somebody for an hour, we say we visited for an hour. Just
We
so
did
you know, you visited for an hour. Well, congratulations on the book. What do your kids think about Dad, the author?
Well, they've been excited about it. And on the dedication is to my sons, Everett, Winston, Thatcher, and Harlan. And so that's one of the first things you'll see. And actually, my youngest was having his book fair at his elementary school today. And I was joking with him this morning. What was my book at the book fair? Did they have it there? And he said, "No, Dad." So it's been fun. They've been following along, and I'm excited to give them each their copy of it.
Yeah.
Really happy to put their names in.
And what do you check Amazon a lot?
Honestly, I have been so busy selling this book today, I haven't
Yeah.
had a chance to look. I don't know. I think it's doing okay. And
Yeah. All right. Well, congratulations again. Again, buy the book now, holiday gift or just a great read. And again, as someone who spends his day trying to get access to people in power to do my reporting, I'm envious of Scott. Just goes to the Oval, gets an interview, goes on Air Force One, gets some time, then goes back to the Oval just to hang out for an hour and celebrate the publication. So very, very, very happy for you. So congratulations on that. All right, let's talk news, and then we'll talk more about the book. Let's start with Epstein. House passage. All but one member of the House, both parties voted yes, including the leadership. And then the Senate pre-approved it, basically said when it gets over here, it's passed by unanimous consent. Extraordinary turnaround because I'm old enough to remember like 3 days ago when the president and his team were whipping against the discharge petition. Tell the story. What happened between the moment that Congresswoman Boebert was in the Situation Room and they were begging her to take her name off the discharge petition to today, where the president said, "Yeah, everybody vote for it. I'll sign it." And literally, one member of Congress voted no in both chambers.
Look, I think they just decided that it wasn't worth fighting over anymore, and putting it behind them was better than fighting this out. I think the president has largely been right in assessing that this was just the latest Democratic plan to tie him up and try to tie him down. He's lived through these episodes before. And I think what we're learning today, Mark, Democrats may be careful what they wish for here because look, what do we already know? A bunch of prominent Democrats were pretty tied in with Epstein. We have Stacey Plaskett on the House floor today trying to defend herself. It turns out after he was convicted, she's getting text messages from Epstein programming her on what to say in congressional hearings. We know Hakeem Jeffries was trying to fundraise with Epstein. We know Larry Summers has now had to take a step back from public life because he was soliciting dating advice from Epstein. I think what we're going to find out is that there's more evidence that Epstein was doing a lot of stuff with Democrats than he was doing anything with Donald Trump. So Democrats want people to think this is a Trump story. We may find out it's a Democrat story sooner rather than later.
And we know that, like a decade ago, the president cut off all contact with Jeffrey Epstein. Why, based on what you've heard, why did the president cut off contact with Jeffrey Epstein?
Well, I mean, I've heard a few things. One, I think he learned the guy was a creep and kind of excommunicated him. I've also heard the same thing about Howard Lutnick. I heard a podcast in which Lutnick, he was like his neighbor, and he went to his house and saw creepy stuff in the
Yeah.
guy's apartment and said, "I'm never coming back here again." So it sort of feels like Trump and the people in the Trump orbit realized what the guy was and cut him off. But Democrats, even after he was convicted, decided there was still worth in fundraising with and having contact with Jeffrey Epstein. And so, again, I feel like this was an IQ test.
Yeah.
If you
What do
bought
you
into
know?
the Democrat narrative on it, you failed, is my view.
What do you know about Ms. Maxwell being moved to a minimum security prison? Why do you think that happened?
I have no idea. No, know nothing about
Are,
it
are, are,
whatsoever.
are you are you interested in the question of why someone convicted of such a horrible crime would be given what by every expert says is uncommon lenient treatment?
Interested, but don't know anything about it. And I'm glad she's going to be in jail for her crimes and believe she deserves to be there.
If the president commuted her sentence or pardoned her, how would that make you feel?
Would not support that.
Now, what would you be outraged?
Outraged? Well, I
Yeah.
mean, I can't imagine why she would deserve it. So I think that would be a bad decision.
Okay. Anything else you want to say about Epstein? There's lots we could say, but lots
I
more I want to
mean,
get to.
honestly, look, I think again, this is a huge distraction. There's a lot of people on the left in the Democratic Party involved in it. I think everybody, look, I have heard Democrats go on TV and imply or worse that Donald Trump had something to do with this.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever offered a shred of evidence that that's true. I mean, people have lately gone all the way and implied he was doing illegal
Yeah.
or at least unethical things. And you and I both know there's not a shred of evidence to support that. But again, it's like they want this to become part of the Democratic firmament. And by the way,
Yeah.
it is. I bet if you went to a Democrat dinner tonight, 100% of the people in the room have it as an article of faith that Trump had something to do with it when
Yeah.
none of that is the truth.
Yeah. Or at least there's no evidence of it.
Not right now.
Okay. Today, again, raise your hand if you want to get in the conversation with Scott. Today, the president met with MBS in the Oval Office, and they took questions, and people were wondering how that would go, particularly if there were questions that would come up about Mr. Khashoggi, who was murdered in Turkey. Here's number one, Wall Street Journal headline: Trump rejects CIA guidance. Trump says Saudi leader knew nothing of journalist murder, rejecting CIA assessment. President says Jamal Khashoggi was extremely controversial figure as leaders announced $1 trillion worth of deals. So there's important business that took place today on economics, on national security, on research, all important. But what a lot of people are paying attention to is the president's answer when the two were asked about this issue of Khashoggi. Here is it's at some length, but I want you to listen to it to hear the president use this phrase about Khashoggi that a lot of people didn't like him, and also his treatment of the press, not because the press deserves special treatment. They should be tough enough to handle anything, but because of what it might reveal about the president's posture here. Number two, please.
Is it appropriate, Mr. President, for your family to be doing business in Saudi Arabia while you're president? Is that a conflict of interest? And Your Royal Highness, the U.S. intelligence concluded that you orchestrated the brutal murder of a journalist. 9/11 families are furious that you are here in the Oval Office. Why should Americans trust you? And the same to you, Mr. President.
Now, who are you with?
I'm with ABC News, sir.
You're with who?
ABC News, sir.
Fake news. ABC fake news. One of the
But the
worst.
question is
One of the
legitimate,
worst
sir.
in the business. But I'll answer your question.
Thank you.
I have nothing to do with the family business. I have left, and when I've devoted 100% of my energy. What my family does is fine. They do business all over. They've done very little with Saudi Arabia, actually. I'm sure they could do a lot. And anything they've done has been very good. That's what we've done. We've built a tremendous business for a long time. I've been very successful. I decided to leave that success behind and make America very successful. And I've made America more successful by far than it ever was, and that it ever could have been, no matter who was president. There would be nobody bringing in $21 trillion, that I can tell you right now. As far as this gentleman is concerned, he's done a phenomenal job. You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that.
It's okay, just you ask, Mr. President,
please, go ahead.
if you allow me to answer. I feel painful about, the families of 9/11 in America, but, we have to focus on reality. Reality based on CIA documents and based on a lot of documents that Osama bin Laden, he used Saudi people in that event for one main purpose, is to destroy this relation, to destroy the American-Saudi relation. That's the purpose of 9/11. So whoever buying that means they are helping Osama bin Laden's purpose of destroying this relation. He knows that strong relation between America and Saudi Arabia, it's bad for extremism, it's bad for terrorism. And we have to approve him wrong and to build our relation, to continue developing our relation. It's critical in the safety of the world. It's critical against extremism and terrorism. About the journalists, it's really painful to hear, anyone that been losing his life for, no real purpose or not in a legal way. And it's been painful for us in Saudi Arabia. We've did all the right steps of investigation, etc., in Saudi Arabia, and we've improved our system to be sure that nothing happened like that. And it's painful and it's a huge mistake, and we are doing our best that this doesn't happen again.
So, Scott, two issues there. We'll deal with the press moment in a moment. President said some people didn't like Khashoggi and that stuff happens, things happen. Do you believe the CIA assessment that MSB knew about and ordered his murder?
I mean, I have no reason to disbelieve it. Of course, I wouldn't be in a position to know, what all the truth of the facts are, but I wouldn't be in a position to dispute it. But I can tell you what I think is on the president's mind today, and that's one thing: the expansion of the Abraham Accords. I mean, everything that happened in the Oval Office today, to me, is in service of drawing in the Saudis to the point where they can join the Abraham Accords. We engaged in economic deals today up to $1 trillion worth. We sold them F-35s, which, by the way, is the same plane we give the Israelis.
Yeah.
Still the Israelis. And, president's in there obviously talking to MBS about a solution that would make them comfortable with the Palestinians, that would make them comfortable enough to join the Abraham Accords. I know the president wants them in. And I think everything that happened in there, from the answer to those questions to what he said to MBS, is all about that.
So let's just boil it down then. There's lots of business to do with them, and getting them in the Abraham Accords would be great for the region and America. Would you be for his being treated that way if you knew for a fact that he'd ordered the murder of Khashoggi? Would you still be for what the president did?
I think
what he said, how he honored him. Would you be for it if you knew that the CIA assessment was correct?
I think when dealing with people in the Middle East, you have to deal with the hand you're dealt, and oftentimes the cards are not savory cards. And a lot of things happen in countries with people over there that we have to deal with, whether we or you or he likes it or not. And so I guess my view of Trump is, and after having been around him a little bit, he just sort of deals with the world as it is and the reality that he's presented. The reality is that's the guy we have to deal with. That's the country we need in the Abraham Accords, and that's the overarching goal.
I totally appreciate both your point of view and your correct analysis, in my view, that that's the way the president feels. But I'll ask you again, would you, as an American, support your president treating him that way if you knew it was true that he killed a Washington Post? They'd ordered the killing of a Washington Post columnist who'd done nothing but speak out, hadn't committed a crime, hadn't been convicted. Would you still support the way he was treated today and the things the president said?
I don't put that issue ahead of the larger national security implications of getting Saudi Arabia into the Abraham Accords and doing what's best for the future national security and economic security of the United States. Look,
So I can mark you down. I just want to mark you down as yes.
Yeah, I support the president trying to bring peace to the Middle East. I support what he's doing with Saudi Arabia. I don't like the guy that's running Syria, but we got to deal with him too. I don't like what Qatar does, but we got to deal with them too. I mean, you have unsavory characters and incidents all over that place, and the president has moved us closer to peace in the Middle East than any American president. And I think I support him in those efforts, and he's got to do what he's got to do with the people that exist in this world.
Yeah, and just to be clear, I may have misspoken. He wasn't an American citizen. He was a columnist for the Washington Post, but he was not an American citizen. Although I believe his fiance might be an American citizen. I might be wrong about that. Here's what the president said about the Abraham Accords today. Number 3, please.
I don't want to use the word commitment, but we've had a very good talk on the Abraham Accords. We talked about one state, two state. You know, we talked about a lot of things in a short period of time. We'll be discussing it further, too. But I think you have a very good feeling toward the Abraham Accords.
Yes, definitely, Mr. President. We want peace for the Israelis. We want peace for the Palestinians. We want them to coexist peacefully in the region. And we will do our best to reach that day.
Scott, I hope you remember well enough to weigh in on this, going to the press question. Was there anything about the way the ABC News reporter asked her question that was improper or disrespectful?
I mean, look, I don't know that it was improper. I mean, the president certainly thought it was disrespectful to treat a foreign head of state that way, but I don't know that it would have been unexpected. I was expecting someone to ask those questions that way. But look, I think when the president answered back, what I was perceiving was, look, he's got this guy in here. He's trying to get him to join the Abraham Accords and everything else, and he was defending him against, what he perceived to be a hostile question from the press. I was not shocked at all with the way the president fought back on it.
Well, but as an American, not as a communications specialist, but as an American, should a reporter asking a proper question be treated that way?
I think reporters that go into the Oval Office and ask hard questions of Donald Trump ought to expect hard responses. He's been getting hard responses of the press for 10 years. If you're shocked by this now, then you haven't been paying.
I'm not shocked by it, but some people are saying, as the president would say, that he was disrespectful in the face of a perfectly respectful question. Here's another instance, same reporter, number 9, please.
Why wait for Congress to release the Epstein files? Why not just do it now?
You know, it's not the question that I mind, it's your attitude. I think you are a terrible reporter. It's the way you ask these questions. You start off with a man who's highly respected, asking him a horrible, insubordinate, and just a terrible question. And you could even ask that same exact question nicely. You're all psyched up. Somebody psychs you over at ABC. You're going to psych it. You're a terrible person and a terrible reporter. As far as the Epstein files I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert. But I guess I turned out to be right. But you know who does have? Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, who ran Harvard, was with him every single night, every single weekend. They lived together. They went to his island many times. I never did. Andrew Weissman, I hear. All these guys were friends of his. You don't even talk about those people. You just keep going on the Epstein files. And what the Epstein is a Democrat hoax to try and get me not to be able to talk about the $21 trillion that I talked about today. It's a hoax. Now, I just got a little report, and I put it in my pocket, of all the money that he's given to Democrats. He gave me none, zero, no money to me. But he gave money to Democrats. And people are wise to your hoax. And ABC's, your company, your crappy company, is one of the perpetrators. And I'll tell you something.
So why not just sign it now?
I think the license should be taken away from ABC because your news is so fake and it's so wrong. And we have a great commissioner, the chairman, who should look at that, because I think when you come in and when you're 97% negative to Trump, and then Trump wins the election in a landslide, that means obviously your news is not credible, and you're not credible as a reporter. So I've answered your question. You should go and look at the Democrats who received money from Epstein, who spent their time. Larry Summers was with him all the time. That creep, the fund guy, was with him all the time. What's his name? Who? Reid Hoffman. I don't know Reid Hoffman, but I know he spends a lot of money on the radical left. Reid Hoffman, in my opinion, should be under investigation. He's a sleazebag. And those are the people, but they don't get any press, they don't get any news, and you're not after the radical left because you're a radical left network. But I think the way you ask a question with the anger and the meanness is terrible. You ought to go back and learn how to be a reporter. No more questions from you. Who else has a question?
Scott, I just love your general sense of that. I know much of it delights you, but is there anything about the way the president spoke to her that bothers you at all?
Look, he is beyond pissed that he keeps having to answer questions about this, and that the narrative that exists in the world leads people to believe that he had something to do with it when he did not. And I think you could see that frustration boiling over in his answer there. And largely what he said is correct about the Democratic affiliations with Epstein. And I think also he's correct that people seem far more interested in asking him about this than people who have documented ties to Epstein about it. So is he frustrated? Yeah. Does he want to talk about other issues? Absolutely. And when people ask him about it, it pisses him off. And that's what you saw.
So unlike a CNN anchor who would let you not answer, I'll ask you one more time. Was there anything about the way the president spoke to her that bothers you? And if so, what?
That bothers me? I mean,
Yeah.
look, I mean, we're not, I mean, nobody's going to get their license revoked over asking questions. I support reporters being able to go to the Oval Office and ask hard questions. And if they want to waste their time on Epstein, that's their business. So I think it's good that the president takes questions. I mean, I think after 10 years, we know how he deals with reporters. I mean, the last 4 years before he came into office, nobody got to ask the president any questions. Now we ask him questions every day. I would put it down as a win.
Okay. One more time. Yes or no? Did anything about the way he spoke to that reporter bother you? Yes or no?
Bother me? No,
Yeah.
I'm not bothered or unbothered by anything. I'm just reacting to the news.
Thank you then. All right. We'll take break format a little bit because we don't have Scott for the full hour, unfortunately. So here's Celia. Celia, welcome in. Thank you for joining. Tell folks where you are, your Iowa sweatshirt notwithstanding, and question for Scott.
I was going to say Mark knows better. Am I unmuted?
You're good.
Okay, cool. So I'm in Knoxville, Tennessee, born, raised Iowan though. So do you have time for a quick JD Vance theory and then question on Venezuela?
Sure.
Lovely. Okay, so start with JD Vance, and this might be a little late to the party because I know we were talking about this last week, but hey, it's 2028, so we're early. So I have a theory on why at least some people might view him as phony. And it's coming. So I was born and raised in a town of about 1,500 people in rural Iowa. So I'm very familiar with the archetype that I think we're all aware of the people that move away from the Midwest or the South rural areas to a city, and they look down on the people that live in their former hometown. But I think that there is some reverse archetype of the people that stay in those areas. And this is not to impugn or assign this to any specific, I don't know how big of a population this is, but I am aware of these people that look down on the expats that move away to the cities. In Iowa, Chuck Grassley, I think a big reason why he's been able to maintain his hold on that seat for so long is that he is so deeply involved in his off time and free time within the state. And people see him, he's around. And I think there's a little bit of this idea of like, well, he's not in my hardware store seeing how much prices are here. I don't see him at the grocery store. And I think it's a little bit of a like, did you grow too big for your britches?
Okay.
Kind of an idea.
Stand by. So, Scott, we've been discussing here my confusion because I know people who think JD Vance is a huge phony, including a lot of Republicans, and ones who say, of course, he's the most authentic person they deal with. And there are people of good faith, and I'm trying to get to the bottom of that. So, Celia's offered a theory that maybe some people who say he's a phony think it's because he's grown too big for his britches. What thoughts on that?
Well, look, I think JD Vance is kind of an American dream success story. I mean, we all know his backstory from the book that he wrote and the movie that was made. We know where he came from, and he and I share, rural Kentucky roots. I kind of admire people who, come from humble circumstances and grow up to make something of themselves. And along the way, by the way, serve our country as United States Marines. So I've known JD Vance for many years and have admired him and like him. I saw him in the Oval Office yesterday and had a nice moment with him. But I think if you believe that about him, you're likely to believe that about any politician or anybody who, improves their station. I think after he became vice president elect, he actually went back to his small town where he came from and visited people. So I think JD Vance is probably more in touch with small town America and small town Appalachia than 99% of people in Washington, D.C. And for those folks to have somebody like that at the highest levels of our government, I think is a good thing.
Celia, your Venezuela question, real quick.
Yes, and quickly, I agree with you, Scott, completely. I really like JD Vance and been following him since his Peter Thiel days. So, basically, Venezuela. My boyfriend, his dad was born and raised in Venezuela, immigrated up here in the early 80s because his mom, who was from Italy originally, moved to Venezuela, met her father, had a dream premonition that Venezuela was going to fall. And she sent her four sons up to the US in the early 80s to school in East Tennessee because they knew of one person in their town that went to school there and end up working out well. They've all become citizens and they are the most pro America people I've ever met in my life. And I absolutely adore them. And my boyfriend made a apolitical boyfriend asked me the other day if I thought that Trump was going to try to regime change overthrow
Yeah.
Maduro's regime. And I said, personally, I don't think that we're going to go that far, but it was interesting to hear him say, the only dream I have in my life is that I can travel to Venezuela with my dad and see where he grew up. And it made me think, we have such a bad taste in our mouths, I think, overall as Americans for regime change wars in the view of the Middle East and in Africa. I think it's a little bit different. When those wars were happening, it's not like we had a 13%, 15% population of Middle Eastern people in the US that were in support or against in the way that we have people, as we heard this morning, and other people that bring up Venezuela on this show and on the morning meeting, that you see an interconnectedness in South America in ways
Yeah.
that I think is it's not unique, but I think it's exhibited.
Yeah.
And so you have people that have friends, family in multiple different countries, and now, with our Hispanic and South American population being so large in the US, both illegal and legal, I wonder, I am looking forward to talking to my father-in-law at Thanksgiving about what he thinks about it. But I wonder what the support differential would be for some
Yeah.
sort of interaction down there.
Yeah.
And what that means for us because we have so much more of a connection to those areas.
Great question. Scott.
My view is Maduro is not the legitimate leader of Venezuela. The U.S. government doesn't recognize him as the legitimate leader. In fact, he's under indictment in the United States for being a drug lord, and that's what he is. And I think we've pretty much tried everything so far, and nothing has really worked, and they continue to be a narco-terrorist state. I think the president and the administration have a lot of political support for their current posture, and it wouldn't bother anybody much in Washington if Maduro fell and the opposition party that's ready to take over was able to form a new government and create an ally for the United States. I think there's obvious trepidation about the United States getting involved in these things because there's been a lot of recoiling from our adventures around the world over the last 20 years, but this is in our backyard. They send drugs throughout our hemisphere. They kill people with those drugs in the United States. And I think a lot of people are looking for a more muscular response, and Trump's giving it to them right now.
So thank you. Grateful to you. Thanks for the pup. All right, a quick word from a sponsor, and then next question for Scott. Scott can check his email while I do this. Because this is about eating healthy, and Scott doesn't need this. This is from our friends at brickhouseSale.com, 30% off Black Friday sale. Doctors have sales. Yes, they do. The doctors behind Brickhouse Nutrition, 30% off sale, biggest sale of the year. Lean products, doctor formulated for weight loss, supplement for people who want to lose meaningful weight without those injections. Lose weight, keep it off, 30% off, 30% off creatine, designed just for women to help you look leaner, in shape, and toned. And then 30% off Field of Greens, the only only super fruit and vegetable drink shown in a university study to actually slow aging. Better health results your doctor will notice. Every Brickhouse product, better sleep, superior collagen, nutrition, all 30% off. Hurry though, this Black Friday sale ends soon. BrickHouseSale.com for 30% off. Go to BrickHouseSale.com. Thank you for your attention to that matter. Alan, welcome in. Tell folks who don't know where you are what's on your mind for author, Dad of the Year, Scott Jennings.
My name is Alan. I'm from Tallahassee, Florida. It's very cool to see you on here, Scott, and thank you for bringing me on, Mark. My question was, I wanted to know if something that caught my eye on the news today was the ex post that Senator Slotkin had posted along with Senator Kelly, Representative DeLuzio, about disobeying unlawful orders is CIA or as intelligence officers as well as military officers. And to me, that comes off almost seditious, in my opinion. I just wanted to hear what your thoughts were on these.
Okay. I've heard a lot from a lot of folks today about this. Let's show a little bit of it for those who haven't seen it. And then Scott will tell us he thinks it's seditious, I bet, but I don't want to prejudge the witness. Number 20, please.
I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris DeLuzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow. I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
and the intelligence community
who take risks each day to keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
and intelligence community professionals
against American citizens.
Like us. You all swore an oath
to protect and defend this Constitution.
And right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad, but from right here at home.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law
or our Constitution.
We know this is hard and that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
the Army,
or Navy,
the Air Force,
your vigilance is critical.
And know that we have your back.
Because now, more than ever,
the American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws,
our Constitution,
and who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
Scott, the reason I think MAGA and people like Stephen Miller are crying crocodile tears over this thing is you guys can sit through like Tucker battling it out, and Candace and Charlie Kirk, like just people just in MAGA just at each other's throats, and then the next day everybody's unified. And now you're on your fainting cows because a bunch of Democrats are doing a video saying, don't break the law. Like, why are people in MAGA so exercised by this?
Well, I mean, first of all, how is the president pitting the military against American citizens? I don't know what they mean by that. A. B. What are the illegal orders? What are they talking about? It's like they live in an alternate reality. They live in a movie. They live in a TV show where something that's they claim is happening is not actually happening in reality. I don't know what illegal activity they're talking about, but I do know what illegal activity they're recommending. And they're trying to get people in the chain of command to disobey the commander in chief, which would be a terrible idea.
But they're saying don't obey legal orders, which is not
what orders.
I don't know, but I didn't hear them advocate breaking the law.
Well, I mean, I think they're trying to influence members of the military to start to determine all orders are illegal orders just because they don't like Donald Trump. That's the way I took it. I mean, what are they trying to foment insurrection in the ranks of the military? I mean, what are they doing?
They're saying if you're being asked to do something illegal, you can come forward.
What is it?
I don't know, but
one example.
I'd like to hear an example, but I don't understand why people are so upset by this.
Look,
they're not advocating anything illegal. I'm not trying to fight with you. I'm just truly mystified because I've heard from like 20 people about this.
This goes to the core argument that Democrats have made for 10 years about Donald Trump. They've never gotten over it. He is the legitimately elected president of the United States. He was in 2016. He was in 2024. He is presently the legitimate commander in chief. But you have this group of Democrats who have tried to treat him like an illegitimate president every step of the way for the last decade. This is the latest installment in this fantasy that Donald Trump isn't actually supposed to be able to act as the president or the commander in chief or whatever. And so, I mean, to me, I think this is going to backfire on them. I think this is fan service for the fever swamps of the left, but to the average American, it's going to sound crazy.
All right, Alan, thank you. Blake, unmute if you would. Welcome in. Tell folks who don't know where you are and question for author Scott Jennings.
Hey, Mark, thanks. I'm in Savannah, Georgia. Long time, first time. When I saw you had Scott on, I thought I'd call in. Big fan, Scott.
CNN never lets you talk to them, do they?
They sure don't. And I had to, Scott, I ordered a signed copy of your book, so I'm waiting on that to get down to Savannah.
That's the Biden auto pen.
False.
That's right. That's
False.
right.
I have literally signed hundreds of copies. I have signed more books than Joe Biden ever signed.
What's the most you've done in one sitting so far?
I did like 750 on Sunday. I mean,
I did 1,100 once in a tiny little room. The book I walked into the room and it was filled with 1,100 books. There was barely a place to sit down. I thought I was going to lose my hand.
My hand is fine. I thought I tore my rotator cuff.
Yeah.
It was like my shoulder. It was awful. But thank you for doing
next book you do, get a doctor as part of the contract, physical therapist. Thank you for buying the book and setting a good example. Blake, what's on your mind for
author,
and I've got commentator?
I've got Game Change over on my desk, but it's not signed. So, but question for you, Scott. So I'm sort of a younger person. This big Fuentes, Tucker, Ben Shapiro, Ted Cruz thing. You know, I think for people my age, it sort of seems like a civil war, sort of. And I think, generally you apply that to the GOP. It's probably not significant in the long run among, sort of older folks. I came to age in sort of the Trump era, So my question is, this kind of infighting, I'm afraid that takes the eye off the ball for the midterms in 28. And that could really impact sort of the margins of younger people's votes. That could really make a difference in some of our swing states like Georgia. So just your sort of thoughts on that.
Well, I agree with you. Anytime you have party infighting, it does take your focus off of the real opposition. I think this whole debate, look, I came of age. I was a kid during the Reagan years and came of age. After that, I became a Republican during the, just after the Gingrich Republican Revolution of '94. So that I worked for George W. Bush. I worked for Mitch McConnell. I worked for Mitt Romney. And now I'm, writing books about Donald Trump. So I've seen a lot of iterations of the Republican Party. Look, and some people have posited this as a free speech issue. I don't agree. Free speech has to do with government coercion. To me, this is a question of what kind of speech do you want to be associated with? I don't personally believe it's good for the conservative movement or the Republican Party to think of itself as a sponge that is bound to absorb the speech of every hateful asshole that comes around. I just don't believe that. I mean, if somebody walked into the party meeting and said, hey, we all have to be for 100% tax rates, we'd kick their ass out. So if somebody comes in and says Hitler and Stalin are good and, here's 10 Jewish conspiracy theories, why do we have to absorb that when we wouldn't absorb a bunch of other crap that someone wearing a sandwich board and carrying a megaphone would say? So my personal view is I agree with you. Inter-party squabbling is bad. Also, my opinion is you got to be able to tell the good guys from the bad guys in this world and civilization from barbarism. Since October the 7th, that's never been easier for me to tell. And I think the president has shown moral clarity on this, and we ought to follow his lead on it.
Blake, thank you. Scott, before you go, moral clarity, but he didn't really denounce Fuentes' views. He just said they should be aired out.
I disagree. The way I took the president's words the other night was, hey, everybody should hear what this nut has to say so they can for themselves. The president is the most pro-Jewish, pro-Israel alliance president we've ever had, and it is not in dispute.
Well, you're very generous in interpreting it that way because it's possible, but it's not how I heard it. But where are you going on your book tour? Are you going to be on like Howard Stern, or what are you doing?
No, I don't think he's having on anybody that's a conservative right now. I have been all over. I started yesterday at the Republican governors in San Antonio. I've done some CNN. I'm doing Newsmax in a little while.
Who are you on with on Newsmax?
The 7 o'clock show here coming up. Rob. 7.
My friend, Rob Schmidt or Rob Finnerty.
Rob Schmidt, yeah.
Rob
and then
the handsome Finnerty, the handsome Rob.
And then I've done a ton of radio. I've done a ton of podcasts.
Are you doing any Hollywood stuff? Like you on SNL or anything like that?
Have not been invited to SNL, but would say yes.
Would say yes. You think you could host, or you joke?
Me? Oh, I would
Yeah.
be I would be the best and highest rated host they could ever get.
All right. Congratulations on the book. Again, it's available now wherever you get your books. Did you read the audiobook? I can't remember.
I read it and I listened to a
Yeah.
little bit of it today, and it's pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
pretty awesome. All right. Congratulations again. Come back anytime. I don't read the chat, but I glanced at it. We sold at least a dozen books based
I
on the
love
chat.
this. I love this. This is the first time I've done this. I could sit here and do this all night. This is like my favorite thing. Talk to the people.
I know. Well, dude, come back anytime. We'd love to have you on. The people, you're the people's pundit. That's what I call you now. Like the people's princess.
I'm America's press secretary, brother.
Exactly. Give Rob my best. Thank you for being on. Congratulations on the book, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Mark. Bye, everybody. Thank you all.
Thank you. All right. That's thin Scott Jennings. I don't know where 25 pounds of Scott Jennings has ended up, but grateful to him for coming on. I just want to show you a couple things we didn't have time to get to. Scott, here's Kamala Harris. She's campaigning in Tennessee in that special House election we talked about a little bit here. Just let's show number 18, please. Number 19. Sorry, number 19 first. This is her working a rope line, and you can see a lot of enthusiasm in Tennessee for the gentle lady from California.
Right here, guys. Let's make it Thank you.
All right, rousing reception here. Here's just some. This was not announced in advance. I'm not sure why. Maybe for security purposes. Maybe they just wanted the thrill of a surprise. But here she is. Some of her remarks on behalf of this Democratic candidate for a special U.S. House race, where Democrats are doing surprisingly well. Number 17, please, or 18, please. 18. Sorry, 18.
Democracy, and in a democracy, who's the power with? The people. And we understand, you know, when they try to say to young voters in particular, oh, your vote doesn't matter, why do you think they say that? Because they know the power is with the people. And that when you start to vote, and you vote in your numbers, you show your power, and then the decisions are made that reflects your needs. But when you don't vote, then your power is not present, and other powers will lead. And what did I say? Don't ever let anybody take your power from you. Why am I here in Tennessee?
Okay. I'll say Tennessee, just a pro tip, if you're traveling in Tennessee and you're in a restaurant and you want a salad, whether word salad or normal salad, you got to tell them no cheese. Because if you don't say no cheese, they're going to put cheese on your salad, whether it's a normal salad or a word salad. That's a little pro tip for you as a man who's traveled. A quick word from one more sponsor, and then back to your questions. You got a lot of kids, like your Scott Jennings. I don't know. He rattled off his son's names. Like I lost track. Seems like at least 4. You need to make sure you got life insurance. Ethos.com/2way gets you a free quote on life insurance from the online platform that makes getting life insurance both fast and easy to protect your family's future in minutes, not in months. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get a quote in as little as 10 minutes. Application times may vary, rates may vary, but if you're the breadwinner and you want to make sure everybody's going to be in good shape, now is the time to do the right thing to make sure that you can provide for them things like the mortgage or tuition payments. Ethos is an online platform, makes getting life insurance fast and easy. Protect your family's future in minutes, not months. Free quote. Go to ethos.com/2way, ethos.com/2way. This is an opportunity, again, to protect your family. Ethos.com/2way. One more point I want to make for those who watch so closely, so grateful to you. We can't cover every story every night. And sometimes I'll get an email from someone, this story's been in the news for 3 days, you never covered it. Well, if my general attitude about news, learned this from John King back when he was with the Associated Press, the first three letters of news are NEW. So if there's a story that happened 3 days ago and then it's still kind of percolating out there, but we didn't cover it the first day, I just tend not to cover it. It doesn't mean I don't think it's important. The show's not an infinite length. What I don't particularly like, being honest, is somebody sends me an email and says, Mark, you didn't cover X, I'll never watch again. I mean, I'll cop right now, we're not perfect. And sometimes I regret not covering a story, but I could name 5 things that have been up in the news in the last couple of days we didn't get to on either show. That just happens, and try to understand we're fallible here. How's that? All right, bring more time for more questions. I'll have to field them, so make them true, false, or really easy. Aaron, welcome in. Remind folks where you live and what's on your mind.
I'm in Kentucky, so I just missed.
You just
Scott
missed your
there.
fellow Kentuckian. Well, I do a pretty
Our hero.
loose Scott Jennings imitation, even though I'm probably 70 pounds heavier than he is. So ask away and I'll do my best.
Well, I don't know why the people who are texting you about that Democrat video are upset, but I think for people here that we talk to and that I live around, then we just feel like, with the Syrian general, the generals not pulling the troops out of Syria in Trump's first term and
Yeah.
all the intelligence community warfare, all that stuff against Trump, then it just seems like they're calling for the same thing to happen again. And
Yep.
I mean, all the institutions have been so heavily weighted toward the Democrats for so long that it seems like you have a little bit of momentum and they're calling for some kind of subversion. So that's what makes, I think, me upset about it.
Yes, sir. Very, very well said. I think you speak for millions, maybe even tens of millions. Very well said.
I was going to ask Scott about the Kentucky Senate race, and then about on the ground issues. Do you think that maybe that because Trump is such a huge turnout machine, like in our local community, I mean, we have like huge turnout numbers whenever he's on the ballot. Do you think that maybe the GOP is a little less efficient on the ground now, or just not prepared for all of these like off year races, and are kind of getting wrecked that way? Or
Yeah, it's a great question that I tried to wade into. It's always a little hard to get at, particularly after the election, which is how much of it is lack of enthusiasm and how much of it is failure on the mechanics, volunteers and get out the vote. I haven't found anybody who's got a clear answer on that, but they definitely are studying what didn't work as well as it might and want to do better in the midterms. But you're framing it just right, but I don't know the answer. Do you have a favorite candidate in your Senate primary?
Well, I'm a GOP chair, so I probably
not
can't.
allowed to say. Okay. Who
Right, not right now.
Who would you make the front runner right now? It's a three-way primary. Who would you make the front runner?
I think that Daniel Cameron is probably a pretty solid 40%, and then, just kind of see how, if Nate Morris or Andy Barr get on top more, which one drops out. Or I think that the plan was to maybe from Barr's campaign was to try to overtake Cameron and then maybe have him come out at the end of the year, and make it a race between Andy Barr and Nate Morris. But I don't know that that's happened so far. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. All representatives of all three candidates seem quite confident their guy's going to win. I could make the case for any of them, but you think the president will endorse in the race?
I know there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes to keep him from endorsing, or at least keep him in somebody's camp.
If we hadn't run out of time with Scott, I was going to ask him what I asked him when he was on Next Up a few weeks ago, which is,
is he going to run?
Is he going to run? He would have given me the old Kentucky two-step. Lastly, if you look at the touting of your governor as a potential presidential candidate, would you say he's being overrated, underrated, or just about right?
I think obviously his podcast is so electric. I think that's his kind of personality, But I think he's lived under such a media blackout in Kentucky.
Yeah.
The media infrastructure in Kentucky is very, Courier Journal, Lexington Herald leader, and then radio. So a lot of the digging that's going to go on if he does get in the race is probably going to reframe him as a candidate, is what I think, on the national stage.
Yeah. Now that Scott's gone, we can talk about him behind his back. Are people in Kentucky politics or Republican politics, are you guys like super proud of what he's accomplished, or not?
I think I am. Everybody has their distraction. He's heavily involved on the ground with consulting firm and stuff like that. So obviously people that have been on the wrong side of his successes are you know, not very happy with him. But I
Yeah.
think that all of any rumors about him getting into the Senate race really starts reverberating throughout the
Yeah.
party and throughout the state.
Yeah. I'm so impressed by how he's navigated being a McConnell and Bush man to now being Mr. MAGA. And
Right.
somehow has been able to navigate that pretty
And
smoothly.
and maybe the McConnell thing is a massive issue to a majority of the voters. I think it's a massive issue to a certain section of the voters. But I
Yeah.
think most people recognize, I mean, there's things he's done that I don't like, but most people recognize that he was so instrumental in the Supreme Court and so
Yeah.
powerful during the Obama years when we
Yes,
had
sir.
nothing going on.
Yes, sir. You're absolutely right. I just wonder, like, what his unfave is amongst
Yeah.
Republicans, because if unless the consultants and pollsters are letting down the Republican candidates, their advertising suggests Senator McConnell ain't that popular because they're all running away from him as quick as they can and trying to tag the others with the association. So you're right. His record, just on the judges, you would think conservatives would be grateful, but they seem to not be super grateful, at least. Grateful to you for being on. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Go buy Scott's book. Um, uh, so again, late news. The Epstein bill's already headed to the president's desk. Just to really, I say all the time when I ask people, what story is like the Epstein story? And nobody can come up with an analog. It's just so many unusual aspects of it. I can't remember a piece of legislation being opposed vociferously, unambiguously, full-throatedly by the president of the United States, and then what is it? 4 days later, 5 days later, he's signing it. Not because that requires a lot, including Congress act as quickly as they did. It's quite something. It's quite something. And now, of course, we'll see how quick the disclosure is. Monica, welcome in our closing moments. What's on your mind?
So my question is really about what's happening within the Republican Party.
Yeah.
The split between establishment and America First. And we see this not just in the media and in the news about what's happening, but I'm also seeing it on the ground level in Florida, where I am, in Northeast Florida. We see a concerted effort to purge America First individuals from the local Republican groups, whether that be the Republican group of Republican Party of Florida or county level groups. And it's not just happening in Florida, it's happening in other parts in the country. And I'm just wondering, nobody's really talking much about that and what that impact is going to have on the upcoming elections and the candidates that win. So I'm just curious.
Monica, how widespread do you think that is?
I think it's pretty widespread based on what I see people talking about on the platforms.
Yeah.
People that are looking at it. It's actually being reported in what you consider alternative media here in Florida.
Yeah.
And they're connecting with other states. There's conference calls that are going on about the purge that's going on by establishment leadership in Republican groups of the America First people, and putting all kinds of new rules and regulations in place that they can go about creating this purge.
Yeah.
And so I'm really curious about how that will impact.
I think it'll depend on how widespread it is and how the leadership does in bringing folks together. I will say historically, this conflict between grassroots, or what we now call MAGA, and the establishment within party committees, it's as old as time itself. This is not a new phenomenon, and it's up to the leadership of the state and the county, et cetera, to bring folks together. But I just don't know how widespread it is right now. I've heard the same thing from some other folks, but it doesn't give me a sense of the quantity of it. But you're absolutely right when you suggest, as Scott did earlier in response to a comparable question, that no good for the party, definitely undermines the cohesion and the capacity to everybody row in the same direction. But I'm going to do some more reporting on it, and I'll report back. And I'm grateful to you for the question because it's right on point with a lot of what I'm hearing from folks. Thank you all for watching. I'm asking if I need to promote something, Noah. Am I supposed to be promoting something?
Yeah, you got Moynihan Report coming
Of
up
course, the
right
Moynihan
now.
Report right now with Tom Preston, one of the creators of MTV and a huge force in media. Right now, I watched Michael Moynihan, the Moynihan Report, his interview with Tom Preston, streaming here on Two-Way. And I'll see you at 9 a.m. tomorrow with Sean and Dan, and then back here tomorrow night, 6 o'clock Eastern Time. Thank you for being part of Two-Way, and thanks to Scott for coming on. Have a great night, everybody. Go watch Tom Preston with Michael.